It feels like Boston Celtics fans are experiencing a sense of deja vu. Once again, they let a commanding lead slip through their fingers, this time losing to the New York Knicks after holding a 20-point advantage at the end of the third quarter. This scenario seems eerily familiar, as it mirrors what happened in the previous game. Now the Celtics find themselves in a tough spot, down 2-0 with their backs firmly against the wall as they head into Madison Square Garden. The sense of disbelief among the fan base is palpable. It's hard to understand how this team, with all the talent and promise they possess, could drop 2 crucial games at home in a playoff series. As a Celtics fan, my immediate reaction is a mixture of shock and frustration. At this point, it's difficult to find optimism. After all, what have the Celtics shown us so far that would lead us to believe they can turn this around? Let's break down everything that went wrong in this game because honestly, it was a mess for the most part. The Celtics played sloppy basketball, especially when it mattered most. Their shooting was abysmal, finishing with a shooting percentage of under 40%. And those 30 missed three-pointers, unbelievable. The team just couldn't get anything going from deep. And instead of playing as a cohesive unit, they got stuck in isolation plays, forcing shots without any real flow to the offense. To make matters worse, the Celtics only registered 17 assists on 34 made baskets. That stat alone is enough to tell you that they weren't working as a team. When you don't have ball movement, you're not going to win in the playoffs. And that's exactly what we saw here. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say the Celtics came out and didn't care. I don't think that's the case. They played with energy and effort, especially early in the game. But their inability to finish shots, particularly wide open three-pointers, was a recurring issue from the first game. The difference, however, was that in this game, they committed a series of unforced errors down the stretch that ultimately cost them the win. The most glaring issue came in the final minutes, when the Celtics went a ridiculous 6 minutes without scoring a single point. If you look at the shot chart for the fourth quarter, the crosses represent missed shots, while the circles indicate made baskets. The Celtics managed to hit only 5 of their 24 shot attempts in the final period. That's just unacceptable. In a playoff game, if you're not hitting shots, you at least need to make up for it with defense, hustle, or rebounding, and the Celtics failed on all fronts. The Celtics were also utterly dominated on the boards in the fourth quarter. They allowed the Knicks to grab 6 offensive rebounds, which turned into 8 second-chance points. This is another huge mistake that simply can't happen. Giving up second-chance opportunities is a death sentence in the playoffs, and the Celtics allowed it to happen far too easily. Second-chance points often come from within the painted area, and the Celtics only made 3 or 10 shots in the paint in this game. That's just not good enough for a team of this caliber. As for their three-point shooting, they were 2 for 11 from beyond the arc in the second game. With numbers like that, it's no wonder they lost. In addition to all the missed shots, the Celtics shot themselves in the foot with turnovers. Unforced turnovers were a killer for them in this game. Let's talk about the turnover numbers for a second. The Celtics finished the game with an alarming total of 16 turnovers. 16! That's a game-changing stat. You simply can't afford to give up possession that many times, especially in a close playoff game. Turnovers lead to fast breaks. They lead to second-chance opportunities, and most importantly, they keep the other team's offense alive. Now, let's talk about individual performances, because that's where things get even more concerning. There's no sugarcoating it. Some of the Celtics' star players underperformed in this game. And I'm not just talking about 1 or 2 guys, it was a collective failure, with several key players not stepping up when their team needed them the most. One of the most frustrating aspects of the game was watching Boston's best player struggle to find his rhythm. Jason Tatum has been a stud all season, but for some reason he just couldn't get it going in either of the first 2 games of this series. In this game, he failed to hit easy shots, especially around the basket. This isn't the Tatum we're used to seeing, the one who dominates offensively and can take over games when it matters. I mean, he was missing layups, short-range jump shots. Basically, anything inside the paint was a struggle. He even had a couple of turnovers late in the game when he could have made a difference. And let's not forget that he also had a critical turnover that led to the Knicks securing a lead late in the fourth quarter. If you're a top-tier player, you have to step up in moments like this. And Tatum just didn't. And the blame doesn't fall on Tatum alone. Jaylen Brown, who had a solid first half, couldn't carry over his momentum into the second half. Brown shot just 8 of 23 from the field, and he also had 6 turnovers. The thing with Brown is that he was aggressive. Early on, using his strength to attack the rim and get to the free throw line, but he completely disappeared in the second half. I want to know how many points he scored in the second half, because it certainly wasn't enough. For a player of his caliber, we need more, especially when the team is struggling. His three-point shooting was subpar as well, as he hit only 2 of 7 attempts. Then there's Derek White, who was consistent but not particularly effective. He grabbed 9 rebounds, which was a positive, but when it comes down to it, we need more from White in terms of scoring. His shooting wasn't good, and while he provided some solid defense and rebounding, it wasn't enough to make a real difference. The Celtics can't afford to have role players only playing average when the stakes are this high. At the end of the day, the Celtics scored 90 points in a playoff game and still lost. They were up by 1 point with just a few minutes left, but poor decision-making and a lack of execution down the stretch sealed their fate. Tatum missed a shot, and then a crucial turnover followed. The coach didn't call a timeout during that 6-minute stretch without scoring, nor did he call one at the end of the game when there was still 12 seconds left. That lack of urgency is troubling, to say the least. At that point, a timeout could have helped them reset and come up with a better play, but instead they squandered an opportunity. It's tough to understand how a team can be so dominant for stretches of the game and then crumble when it matters most. The Celtics need to figure out how to fix this before heading to New York, because if they don't, this series could quickly get away from them. If they want to turn things around, they're going to have to win a game on the road and get back to doing the things that made them successful all season. They need to make shots, limit turnovers, and get more out of their stars. It's now or never for this team. Let's hope they can get their act together before it's too late. As the Celtics prepare for Game 3 in New York, the questions surrounding their performances are piling up. In some ways, it's hard to pinpoint where the blame lies. There are so many contributing factors to this mess. However, what's clear is that the Celtics are failing to capitalize on their strengths when it counts the most. There's a sense of urgency that's been missing in these first 2 games. And it's not just the missed shots or turnovers, it's the mental lapses in critical moments. They're not playing with the focus and intensity that's required in the postseason, and that's the biggest concern. What about the defensive side of things? While the Celtics had their moments, they didn't defend the way they need to in a playoff series. The Knicks were able to get comfortable in the second half, and it wasn't like they were running intricate offensive schemes. No, the Knicks simply out-hustled the Celtics, especially on the offensive boards. 6 second-chance points in the final moments of Game 2 helped the Knicks sail the deal, and that's a reflection of Boston's failure to secure the ball when it mattered most. In the closing minutes, the Celtics allowed too many easy looks, whether it was a missed box out or simply not contesting shots properly. You can let your opponent get extra opportunities in the playoffs. It's those little things that make a big difference, and unfortunately, the Celtics didn't do enough to stop them. The biggest disappointment for me, though, is the lack of leadership. When the Celtics needed someone to step up and take control of the game, nobody did. Tatum has been far from his usual self in this series, and that's a problem. He's supposed to be the guy who takes over when the game is on the line. But in the fourth quarter of both games, Tatum has struggled. His decision-making has been questionable, and his inability to hit key shots has been frustrating. Tatum is the team's best player, and he's capable of so much more, but for some reason, he's not delivering. The same goes for Jaylen Brown. There are flashes of brilliance, but he needs to be more consistent, especially when the Celtics are in desperate need of a spark. It's no secret that Boston Stars have to perform at a higher level if they want to get back in this series. And right now, they're not doing it. But it's not just the stars who are underperforming. The role players have been inconsistent as well. Take Marcus Smart, for example. He's usually the heart and soul of this team, the guy who sets the tone with his defense and energy. But Smart has been largely invisible, and that can't continue if the Celtics are going to have any chance of turning things around. His defensive intensity has been lacking, and he's made some ill-advised plays on offense. For a team that relies on ball movement and decision-making, Smart has been too erratic, and he needs to be the floor general the Celtics need, but right now he's been a liability in too many situations. The bench has been another disappointment. Peyton Pritchard and Grant Williams are players who have shown flashes of brilliance in the past, but neither has been able to find any rhythm in this series. When the Celtics starters aren't clicking, the bench has to step up and provide a spark. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. Boston is getting very little production off the bench, and that's putting even more pressure on the starters to carry the load. With so much focus on the main guys like Tatum and Brown, the supporting cast has to come through, but they've fallen short. The lack of depth is a real concern at this point, and it's something the Celtics will have to address if they want to avoid a complete collapse in this series. And speaking of depth, let's talk about the coaching. I'm not going to put all the blame on Joe Mazzulla, but I do think he's been slow to make adjustments when things are going wrong. In Game 2, the Celtics went 6 minutes without scoring, and Mazzulla didn't call a timeout. That's a crucial mistake. You can't allow a game to slip away without trying to change the momentum. There were also other moments where Mazzulla failed to make key substitutions or adjustments that could have helped shift the tide. The game was in the balance, and the Celtics had a chance to rally, but they didn't do enough to make it happen. In the postseason, coaching decisions can be the difference between a win and a loss, and right now, Mazzulla hasn't been able to provide the spark his team needs. So, what's the way forward for the Celtics? They need to find a way to regroup and dig deep. They have the talent, but it's up to them to execute when it matters. They can't continue to rely on individual brilliance. This team needs to come together and play as a unit. They need to rediscover their defensive identity, get more out of their role players, and most importantly, their stars need to step up. Tatum needs to find his groove, and Brown has to stay consistent throughout the game. They can't afford to go cold in the second half and expect to win. And then there's the mental aspect of the game. The Celtics need to be mentally tough. They've shown flashes of greatness, but they need to develop the resilience to weather the storms and come out on top. They've been through tough situations before, and this is the time to show their character. They can't afford to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. The turnovers, the missed shots, the lapses in focus. All of that has to change if they're going to have any hope of making a comeback in this series. It's not just about talent, it's about execution and mindset. The Celtics have to start playing with a sense of urgency. They need to treat every possession as if it's do or die, because at this point, it kind of is. Heading to New York, they have no room for error. If they lose Game 3, they're facing a near impossible task to come back in this series. So it's time for this team to find their rhythm, play with heart, and stop making excuses. If they're going to have any chance of winning this series, they need to start playing like they believe they can. With the series shifting to Madison Square Garden, the pressure is on the Celtics to show up and prove that they can fight their way back into this series. Game 3 is a must-win for Boston, and they need to approach it like their season depends on it, because honestly, it does. The Knicks are riding high after their victories, and they'll be tough to beat on their home court, but the Celtics have the tools to turn this around. They just have to believe it. It's time to put up or shut up. The next few games will define this team's season, and if they're going to make a playoff run, they need to prove that they can play like a championship contender. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Kevin Durant, one of the NBA's most electrifying and accomplished forwards, has once again stirred the basketball world. This time with a message directed squarely at the Boston Celtics. The two-time NBA champion and former league MVP has reportedly expressed strong interest in donning the green and white, a move that could dramatically reshape the landscape of the Eastern Conference. Durant's admiration for the Celtics organization isn't new, but his latest statement suggests something deeper than mere respect. Boston is a team I've always watched closely, Durant said through sources close to his camp. They play with heart, they have a winning culture, and I see myself fitting in with that kind of energy. These words, while subtle, have sent shockwaves through league circles, hinting at a potential shift that would send KD to a franchise rich in history and hungry for another championship banner. The Celtics, fresh off a dominant regular season and a deep playoff run, boast a young and talented core led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Adding Durant into the mix would not only bring veteran leadership and elite scoring, but also elevate Boston's title hopes to an entirely new level. It's not just about talent, it's about synergy. Durant's ability to stretch the floor defend multiple positions, and lead in clutch moments makes him a perfect complement to Boston's current roster. While no formal negotiations have been reported, Durant's message has certainly made its way to Celtics management, and fans are already dreaming of a lineup that features KD alongside Tatum and Brown. Social media erupted with speculation, mock trades, and jersey edits within minutes of the news surfacing. Durant, who turns 37 next season, is aware that the window to add more rings to his legacy is narrowing. Choosing a destination like Boston, a city with a passionate fan base, a storied franchise, and a team ready to compete now, would be a bold but logical step for a player of his caliber. Whether or not the Celtics pursue the opportunity remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: Kevin Durant has set his sights on Boston, and the basketball world will be watching closely. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.